All right, we're ready to get started with our next sessions. We're going to be talking about PeeringDB, and our next speaker is Ben Ryle, wearing his other hat as the chair of the PeeringDB Outreach Committee. So he'll be giving us a quick talk about that. Ben?
Thanks, Michelle. So good morning again, everyone. So here this time with my PeeringDB hat on, as Michelle mentioned, I'm chair of the outreach committee for PeeringDB, and we're kind of charged as a group with coordinating and organising, talking to lovely people like you at events like this. So here to really give a quick update. Originally, this was going to be Arnold delivering the update, but he's not been able to travel for this event, unfortunately. So you've got myself. Apologies if I'm not super polished with the slides. I only reviewed them in the last couple of days, but I'm sure we'll get there and share a meaningful update. So hopefully everyone knows in the room, but maybe we have new peering coordinators, maybe our folks new to the industry. You know, what is PeeringDB and why should I use it? So PeeringDB is a not-for-profit database of networks, internet exchanges, facilities, and all sorts of other information that helps peering coordinators find and communicate with other networks about setting up peering. Obviously, you heard me talk about how we use it at Meta shortly, a short while ago. Clearly, you know, we're not the only people trying to drive this, and we're trying to make sure that the platform's available for everyone. So as it says here on the slide, you can kind of maintain your contact information so people know how to reach you as network operator. Maybe that is for a peering request, or maybe that's a NOC trying to contact you if something's gone wrong. Similarly, you can turn that around and you can find other operators or other IXP's details. And then you can also find information about which networks are connected where and which networks are built into which data centers. It says it here on the slide, you know, PeeringDB record is required by many to peer. You know, we have that in our policy, but if you talk to other folks in the room, a lot of other operators also now want you to maintain a PeeringDB record as part of peering with that organization. And then, you know, it can be used also to, in a programmatic way, to take the information out of PeeringDB, either, you know, manually or using an API, and you can, you know, automatically build router configurations with that detail. A little bit about PeeringDB and the organization. It's a volunteer-based, not-for-profit, registered in the United States, and it's 100% sponsored by, funded by sponsorships. It's a healthy organization, building financial reserves to ensure that the platform can continue and be maintained in the future. And then, you know, there's a handful of membership rules which, you know, are listed on this slide, and the slide's going to be shared. But, you know, you can be a company, partnership, or other entity to be a member. And then, you know, it's themed by you have an active PeeringDB account. And there's the mailing list link on the side there if you want to read or register for more information. It's a number of different committees that support PeeringDB. And actually, one thing, if you see what PeeringDB is and hearing about the volunteer status, we're actually looking for more volunteers across most of the committees. So as I talk through these, if it's someone that's interested, feel free to grab me, and I can certainly link you with the right people. But we've got an admin committee that supports the administration of PeeringDB accounts, and also supports those if, you know, you have an issue accessing your account or similar. We have an operations committee that runs the, you know, the infrastructure, essentially the servers, etc., that supports the platform. We have an outreach committee, so marketing, social media, talking to events like this, encouraging people to, you know, engage and use the platform. Then we've got a product committee as well that's helping drive, you know, from the community what features we want to be built in the platform in the future. We've mentioned the admin committee. Clearly, PeeringDB has lots of users. Users, you know, do have problems and generates support tickets. So there's a few stats here. The big one to call out really on the right-hand side is, you know, over time, we've seen kind of a 300% increase in requests coming in. And that's because as the platform gets more used, people change jobs. You know, as one example, people need support with their accounts. It's one of the reasons, you know, we're always calling out for more volunteers because to help make sure we deliver the experience that folks want. So this one's talking about security. So I'll just pause in on the slide because it's not how it was in the slides I got shared. we're basically enforcing, if you use the API, we're enforcing use of the URL rather than trying to use an IP address. And that's so we can serve the content to you from the nearest location and also not have a single point of failure. If you go single IP, that's probably bound to a single server and that fails. So, we're trying to make sure you get that delivered from the nearest point to you and also handle a failure. So if you're building scripts or if you've got scripts that rely on IPs at the moment, we encourage you to change those because we've enforced the use of PeeringDB.com from version 2.35.0. Similar for authentication. These are additional features that have been rolled out that I'm clearly reading myself as we're up here. So on an org level, additional tabs, you can have emails associated with it. There's different user types in PeeringDB. And if you're an admin, you can control those. And then on a user, I think you read on here, we're also rate limiting unauthenticated API queries. So what we're really trying to do here is we're making sure the API and the data that's in PeeringDB doesn't get misused or doesn't get abused. So we're looking for user authentication. So if you are building something here, you're authenticating to get that data. And then similar for account security, we're encouraging the use of two-factor. Obviously, you hear that across kind of many platforms that you probably have a login to. The idea being something else other than just a password. And that's really, as talking about using PeeringDB as a sensor authentication tool. Thinking about the OAuth that, I was talking about when I had up here with Meta earlier, making sure this account that you have for PeeringDB is secure. Other new features we've rolled out. Self-selection fields and for IXs. So if you're an IX, you can now start to indicate your service level and you can also indicate your terms. So you can see here, 6 Seattle is an example we've used, but any IX operator can now indicate these. Similarly, extending the same self-selection for facilities. You can select kind of, the property type if it's leased or owned. You can also talk about substations and power feeds. So we're really trying to give more granular detail to operators of IXs and facilities to share more details that helps peering coordinators to make informed decisions. And then we've been trying to also bring the community in this, and at NANOG 83, we actually participated in the hackathon. If you're not familiar with NANOG, it's the North American Network Operators Group. And before the event, they always have a hackathon on the day before, and we participated in that. And out of that, we've got improved searching now. So searching for numbers returns the most relevant results. Searching for a short ASN. So if you, let's say, have a 4-digit AS, now returns that rather than the 4-digit and more. And then you can see other bits and pieces here as well. So we're really trying to help the community feedback features we want, and then also go to the community to help with a hackathon to get those features developed. Similarly, we've rolled out additional features for searching in facilities. The IP address being mapped to, the address is mapped to coordinates. And also, mentioned a moment ago, property ownership, redundancy, and power provided. Still talking about improving searching. We're now also doing that on internet exchanges. So you can now search on criteria. So where we talked about if you have an SLA or not, you can now start searching for those pieces of data as well. So not only are we enabling IX operators to add that information, you can now, as a peering coordinator, search and filter IXs by that as well. Obviously, with all of this, we need to make sure there's documentation to support. We've been pushing out documentation updates. We've also been pushing out how-tos now. So short, bite-sized, if you're trying to do a particular activity, you can go to the PeeringDB how-tos pages, docs.peeringdb.com/how-tos, and actually go and find something short that will answer the question you're trying to do. Continuing to look forward, small bug fixes and small features are what we're doing in the short term, and we're still trying to improve the searching. The power of PeeringDB is it's also a database of information, but we need to make sure that the search is as powerful as possible to support getting that data. We're also going to help with that admin queue jump we talked about. We're going to look at automating and improving networks, IXPs, and facilities. So you're not waiting that 24 hours, which is what we target getting a response back in. A few other call outs, Fergus and team mentioned this morning that this event's sponsorship driven. PeeringDB is also sponsorship driven. It doesn't exist without our sponsors. There are different sponsorship levels. If you're an organisation that's really using this tool and would like to contribute back to help maintain and sustain it, please feel free. There's many sponsors in the room. We thank all of our sponsors. You can see all the logos up there, but without all these folks, the platform wouldn't be able to exist and wouldn't be able to scale for us to all use. At that point, I'll ask if there's any questions. Thank you. Hey.
Hi, Ben.
Hey there.
So I'm Yolandi from NAPAfrica, and Ben, I wanted to ask you, what is the importance of having your network listed on PeeringDB? Why would I want to be listed on the database?
Cool, thanks. So as a network operator, there's a few reasons you'd want to be listed in PeeringDB. One of them is going to be other people who want to potentially peer review can find you and actually contact you, because they'll see where you are, what style of network you operate. By that I mean access, OTT, etc., and also how to reach you and where you're connected. Equally, as a data center operator or an IXP operator, you probably want to be in there, so you can have people associated in your facility, and as network engineers and peering coordinators are planning where and how they peer, they can find where networks are connected. So I guess that little facility in Joburg that Terrico run, if that wasn't listed there, it'd be really hard to find who's in that building and make those decisions.
And then in terms of putting my contacts down, who would be able to see that? Is there any kind of authentication that happens before we share the details, or how does that work?
Yeah, so to access the information in PeeringDB, you need a PeeringDB login, and that generally gets associated with a record of some sort in there. So you need to be authenticated to see that data. In the same way, to get it systematically from the API, you also now need to authenticate against that. So, essentially you can log who accessed and what they're, getting access to. So it's not just publicly available, so people could misuse it. And people who misuse the platform is released in a way as well. That's enforced.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks for the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. That was a great talk, and I hope it was useful for everyone, particularly the newcomers as well. Up next, we have an IXPDB talk that Nurani will be giving us, wearing her Euro IX board member hat. Welcome, Nurani.
Thank you so much. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Nurani Nimpono. I work for the London Internet Exchange, but as Bijal said, here I'm wearing a different hat because I'm a member of the Euro IX board. I'm going to talk about one of the initiatives the Euro IX is doing. I'll start and then we'll hope we can get slides. So the Euro IX is an association of internet exchange points in Europe, but in fact it's bigger than Europe because it was the first IXP association that was set up. So we have members from Asia, from Africa, in fact, from Europe, from Latin America, from many different places. But of course we cooperate with all the other IXP associations, including AfPIF, one in Africa. I've got a clicker, but I don't have any slides. Okay, I did ask them to put the slides up, so can I ask again to get the slides up? Hooray! Okay, so the slides are up. Thank you, Fergus. So like I said, we're an association of lots of internet exchange points in Europe. And we have anyone who wants to be a member needs to be an exchange point, but in fact, we have also lots of patrons, supporters, that help keep the Euro IX going. And it's not just in terms of monetary support, it's also in terms of participation in the program committee and participation in some of the projects that we carry out. I think the slides are projecting slightly strangely. If someone could help me with that. There we go. Thank you. So, like I said, we're a membership organization. We meet twice a year to organize events for the community to come together. But we also organize hackathons and workshops and things like that. So it's really a very collaborative association where we exchange information and educational materials, etc. We also provide reports. Given that it's an association of all the IXPs, we also sit on all the IXP data in our membership. So we provide that data in various reports. And then we also have various projects that consist of tooling and other things. We also produced a movie about IXPs many years ago, and we're coming out with a new one that will explain the benefits of an IXP, what peering is, etc. And in fact, in some ways, we were hit badly by the pandemic because we couldn't meet, we couldn't have all our informal chats and discussions, you know, some of the things that you don't necessarily do on a Zoom call. But one of the benefits that we found ourselves sort of enjoying at the EURIX was all of a sudden, all this funding that we had to organize events, we couldn't organize this in-house event. So we decided, we had a discussion with the community and on the board and said, how can we best use this money? And we said, well, actually tooling and reporting is one of, that sits really at the core of what we as an association can be doing. So why don't we channel that money into developing some of these community tools that we really think we should be doing? And some of the things, so for example, IXPDB that I'll be talking about today, it actually started out very early on as the EURIX database that mostly the EURIX members used, where they could see what AS numbers were at various IXPs or who peered where or not, etc. And also had some data that we shared between ourselves about what hardware the different IXPs use, etc. But some of that sort of, you know, when we developed the IXPDB, some of that data was not, you know, put to best use perhaps or presented in the best way. But it was also because we had limited resources in developing this. But now with the opportunity of the COVID pandemic, we actually used those resources. We hired a product manager and we said, okay, let's see what we can do with this to really provide a benefit to not just to the IXPs, but to all of the users of IXPs as well. So, like I said, I'm wearing my EURIX hat, but we all actually collaborate under the Internet Exchange Federation. So, obviously for Africa, that is AfPIF. But anything that we produce at EURIX, we try to share broadly with everyone else in the Federation. So, this gets to the meat of what I wanted to talk about. So the IXF JSON schema is actually, it's a community-driven schema that allows IXPs to report their data in an automated, standardized fashion. So that means things like what peers are at what IXPs, what locations are the IXPs, hardware, route servers, all those things. And of course, all that data can be useful to have in a database, but if you want people to use the database, you need to make it accessible. It just sits there. You know, you have to figure out that database language or have to figure out how to get that information out of the database, then it's not particularly useful. So what's very neat is that we developed this API that allows any IXP to export this data automatically into this database. So it doesn't actually add any extra work to the IXP. We think that IXP should be the authoritative source of IXP data. So we wanted to make it easy for IXPs to share this into the database. But it also means that IXPs can actually automatically feed this into PeeringDB. And I'm going to preempt a question that I know I'll get later, and that is, what is the difference between IXPDB and PeeringDB? And it's actually the complementary tool. So PeeringDB, as you know, if you all listen to Ben's presentation, is a community-driven, community-maintained tool set In fact, Bijal, who is the general manager of EUR-IX, is also on the PeeringDB, one of the PeeringDB committees. But PeeringDB is really maintained by everyone who puts data into it. You all do that, of course, hopefully. But the IXPDB is where the IXPs are the authoritative source. So it's an authoritative, fully comprehensive set on data on IXPs. And like I said, it imports it directly from the IXPs. And the idea is really to provide a big, complete picture of the global internet ecosystem. So if you run an IXP, then I encourage you to make sure you feed your data in here. If you don't run an IXP, don't stop listening, because this data set and this tool set is actually available to the broader community. So it might actually be in your interest as well to see how you can get the best out of IXPDB. So it collects anything from, infrastructure things, IXP, facility location, peering LAN, switching hardware, ports, connection speeds, and also aggregate traffic. It also imports third-party data from PeeringDB and Manners, for example. So you can see if an IXP has joined the Manners program, for example, if that's something that you think should be a priority. And then the neat part, and this is, the data has always been there, but this is where we put most of our efforts into in the last couple of years, is actually the GUI, the web-based GUI. And to be honest, I haven't actually even dug into some of these latest developments. So there's a lot of things happening. And I think even if you look at this in half a year from now, you'll see that there's quite a lot of developments. So for example, you can look at IXPs by connected AS numbers. You can look at the latest IXP connections. So let's say you are interested in IXP and you want to see who are the latest AS numbers that connected there. You can look at switching hardware. So let's say you're running an IXP and you're in the process of evaluating a hardware upgrade or a change of hardware with vendors. This could be interesting to see, to understand what are other IXPs using. You can start conversations with them about their experience. And then also networks. So for example, I think we had a discussion in the AFIX meeting yesterday about how many IXPs are there, but also how many AS numbers are there. So those are also numbers that you can see here. How many AS numbers are there in the region, in Africa, for example, but also how many are regionally unique, only in Africa. So as you can see, it's a mix of we're trying to provide as broad a data set as possible. So some of it might be very interesting for operational purposes, but some of it might be interesting if you are writing a blog or you talk to your government or you are trying to understand the ecosystem. So we're trying to make all of this data available in a dynamic way. So this is, I'm not doing a live demo, but if you go on the website, you can actually see this dynamically interactive web page. This is another really neat thing if you're a visual person. So any data sets, if you do like a search, you do data set filtering, you can actually click on that little analyze button and it will present you with a really nice chart that you can then export. You can put that in your report internally, externally. You can tweet it, you can do, whatever you want with it. It also has interactive maps and actually allows then import of third-party data. So for example, from PeeringDB, if you wanted to see, you wanted to put together an interactive map showing where, let's say, an IXP is or where several data centers are, and then you can tweak these needles as well. I haven't played with this particular feature myself, but it seems like a very neat one. So that was it, just a very quick overview. Like I said, this work has taken off really in the last year, but we are putting more effort into refining this. So if you're an IXP, tell us, how do you think you could use this data? Or even if the data's there, are there particular tools or graphics, anything like that that helps you? But also if you're a network and you don't know how to interact with this data, let us know as well. Are there particular visual tools, for example? You can also export this data into CSV format, and so you can take this, download it locally, filter it, massage it, do whatever you want with it. So there's a mailing list for users. Feel free to join that. And there's a link there to the GitHub JSON member list schema. And yeah, a few other useful references. But please get on the website, play with it, and let us know what you think and what you think we should be doing in our next steps. Thank you so much, all the sponsors. It really, really helps in developing this tool set. And that's also our commitment, is to make this available to the community. It's not just an internal tool. There was a slide about future, and we're actually, I'll just speak a little bit about it, that we are, like I said, it's not a done and dusted project. So we are looking to develop this further, and especially some of the sort of more interactive and visual aspects of it. So let us know if you have thoughts, feedback, requests, or anything. Thank you. Any questions? I'm a little bit scared of Yolandi getting up and asking me lots of detailed questions.
Please use the microphone at the back. And anyone else, if you have a question, you can queue up at any of the mics, as well as our audience online. Would you please use the Q&A, and you can put your question in there and we'll read it in live, and Nurani will be able to answer you. Go ahead.
Thanks, Yolanda, for a nice presentation. My name's Paul Kaunda, a Tanzanian. Actually, I'm not a tech person, I'm a lawyer. It's my first time to be here. And mostly I practice in the area of artificial intelligence and innovation. I protect clients' advice on such issues. Now, my question or my concern about the data or privacy on the IXPDB or the IXF. If you might quite remember, in 2013, there was a huge dispute between Microsoft and FBI. Microsoft had servers outside the United States. Actually, it's on the island. Now, FBI had to access data which is outside the United States. So that dispute necessitated the Congress to legislate the famous Cloete Act, which allows law enforcement officers to access data outside the United States if there's such a subpoena. Now, my question, what are the regulatory frameworks, regulatory concerns? For instance, there is a such subpoena from law enforcement authorities to access data from the IXP database. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Just to be clear that, first of all, we're not putting any end user data in here. This is really just data that's publicly available. Sorry. So data that networks provide voluntarily, of course. So this is data that already sits on the IXP's databases, on the IXP's websites and in their databases. So we're not providing, for example, let's say we're not publishing how much traffic a particular network does at a particular IXP, or even the aggregate of that network across several IXPs. So there's no personal or private data in here, and this is all data that's being published to also enable discussions about peering and peering negotiations. A lot of this data sits in PeeringDB, but the IXP data is something that the IXPs are sort of the authoritative source on. So we wouldn't be publishing anything that any of those organizations would not want us to publish. You know, be it also, you know, what hardware vendors IXPs are using, or the aggregate traffic across Africa, for example. That's something we put out, but we don't put any individual data in there of that nature. I hope that answered your question. Please, yes.
Right, thank you. So my name is Josiah Chafula. I'm from the University of Cape Town. Thank you so much for the presentation. So it does appear to me that there is a lot of data and databases available to, I suppose, operators that want to peer and connect at these different IXPs and different toolings that you've made available. Yourself and Ben mentioned, I'm sure Yolandi is also going to talk about some of them. So my question is, what do you see as being some of the key challenges still existing for those that want to come and peer into a particular region, whether in Europe or here in Africa, new entrants or existing operators? What still remains as some of the challenges? Is it still access to data, or is it just other things, politics and economics?
Thank you. Very good question, but it's also a very big question, of course. The range of challenges. I mean, what we're trying to do with the tooling is actually only in terms of providing the information. I mean, so before you can decide whether you want to peer somewhere, you need to know what is there an IXP there, for example, who's connected there, you know, what is their peering policy, you know, those are things that you know, look at before you even decide whether or not it makes sense for you to peer at an IXP. So that is the problem that we're trying to solve with the IXPDB, and that's also sort of what the role of the PeeringDB database, to allow that, you know, for people to publish that information and for others to access it. But that's purely on the information level, right? So I'm happy to have a discussion with you later about like all the other challenges that you might have depending on what type of network you are or depending on what continent you are. You know, peering at an IXP, you know, might be sort of one piece of the puzzle, but of course, you know, you also need data centers and fiber infrastructure. You need like all these things in order to, you know, to get good use out of peering at an exchange point, of course. Yeah. But I'm happy to talk more to you about that later.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Thanks a lot. I'm really interested because I'm interested into some of the research issues into this. And I think it's not just the data issue, but maybe there are other underlying issues. So I'd love to chat to you. Thank you.
Definitely, yeah. Thank you.
Hi, Nurani. My name is Isabel, and I'm from G-Core. I'm a very big user of PeeringDB, and I was having a conversation with Ben, who just been presenting PeeringDB. So I asked him why the need to create the IXPDB, because I mean, you can find as much information as you want to about the IXPs as well on PeeringDB, and he says they complement each other. But I want to find out, how do they complement each other?
Okay, yeah, very good question. And good answer from Ben as well. I think, you know, the challenge when you have a lot of data that covers, you know, that's maintained by a lot of different organizations or people, is that it's difficult to keep that data up to date, right? And you have people leaving the organization, or you have, you know, changes happening. And so we find that, you know, you always struggle with keeping data up to date. And also, you know, as an IXP, we're not owners of the network's data. We can encourage networks to register the data in PeeringDB, but we can't force them. And we also don't want to, you know, push their data into PeeringDB, because that's data that should be owned by them. So really what IXPDB is trying to do is to create a database that's owned by the IXPs, because we have that data. We know exactly how many members we have today as opposed to yesterday, how many AS numbers there are, how many, all of those things. So by owning that data, we make that available, you know, to anyone, you know, who needs to network and peer, but also because we get a lot of requests sometimes from policymakers, from researchers, and we wanted to say, okay, well, this is data that we own, and it's authoritative data with us, but that doesn't actually take away, you know, the usefulness of PeeringDB, which serves a different purpose. But that's also why we try to, you know, create these APIs to make it easy to export or import data. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, very much. Thank you.
Thanks.
Just a quick one, Narani. We did have a question from the online platform, so sorry. And it was similar to what Isabel just asked. So for Abdul Kadir, I hope you've gotten your answer to the question. If not, feel free to ask more questions on the Q&A tab and we'll be able to answer them for you. I think we'll take the final question from Kyle.
It's just more of a quick comment to elaborate on the reply Narani gave to Isabel. And from my perspective as an IXP operator. So I'm Kyle Spencer, Uganda Internet Exchange. And the way I see the distinction is that PeeringDB's information is reported by the network operators. So UIXP has a profile on PeeringDB, but it only includes about 1/3 of the networks that connect to us. And there's a lot of inaccurate data in it that I can't fix as an IXP operator. I'm not saying that that's a fundamental flaw in PeeringDB. It's because of the purpose that it serves, and it does that very well. But IXPDB gets the information from us. And so if you look at our profile in IXPDB, it's true from our perspective, which shows 31 networks, and it shows the different peering policies they have from our perspective. And so it's kind of like looking at the same ecosystem from two different vantage points, PeeringDB from the network operator perspective and IXPDB from the IXP perspective. And that's how they complement each other, is they provide that holistic view.
Thank you. Very nicely put, Kai. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I'll be here all week, so feel free to grab me if you have any other questions.
Okay, thank you. I think the room is getting warm as well. People are asking questions. Keep those coming. Up next, we have Yolandi Cloete. She'll save me from this, from NAPAfrica, and she's here to talk about PeeringDB as well.
Cool. Hi, everyone. So to save Michelle, it's Yolandi Cloete, very Afrikaans name. Yeah, so thank you for the opportunity to present. Today, I'll be talking about the peering toolbox. So representing EuroIX, where Narani is from. So yeah, this is a very exciting talk. It's something that we've been working on for quite a while. So let's kick it off. Let's see, do we have the slides? Awesome. Okay, cool. So as you know, the internet started way back when. I mean, I might have not even been born by that stage. Some of you were very young at that stage. So at that time, you only had the option of connecting to the internet via transit provider, correct? Your upstream provider. And the enterprise networks, as I mentioned, transit providers or upstream providers is how you would connect to the internet and get your connectivity. What has changed in the past 20 years? A lot. I mean, we can look around us and a lot has changed. Internet has become an essential part of our everyday life, and organizations and the connectivity, the reliability, as well as the services that you give to your or provide your clients. So internet has become a fundamental part of a company, and businesses need to optimize those services. There's so much you can do, and we don't. There's a lot of networks that just do not realize how much potential there is by utilizing the internet. So what is the problem? Exactly that. How do we grow these internet businesses, or the importance of internet to businesses? That is quite important to drive the enterprise networks to manage their own connections. And I mean, we had a discussion this morning where we said, enterprises, since the pandemic has happened in 2020, we have seen such an increase of enterprises, of financials, of different kinds of businesses reaching out, wanting to understand interconnection, peering. They want to understand how this whole internet thing works and how they can utilize it to improve their businesses, both internally and externally. And managing your network comes with a risk. We know this. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. There's a lot of things that can go right. But knowing how to deal with it is an important thing to these businesses. It's important to us as well. And there's now more relationships. So now you are not only speaking to your transit provider. You are not only speaking to your upstream provider. You now need to interact with your IXPs, your local IXPs, as well as a direct peering relationship with the networks that are connected on the internet exchange. And how do you do that? Where do you start? What do you do? What do you say? So that's exactly that. So enterprises are now taking on the roles of their ISPs, having the right resources. So that's where you start, right? Getting your own public resources, your ASN and IP addresses. Where do you go for that? Of course, we know you go to Afrinic, but there's a lot of startup companies or well-established companies that do not know where to start. Where do I go for these this information? Managing your peers and related costs. Now, that is your peering arrangement with the networks that are available at the internet exchange. What do you, again, coming back to what do you say? How do you engage? What is it that you need to know about your peering relationships? How to peer and with whom? Again, coming back to what Nirani said, you need to know if you want to connect to an internet exchange, it's not as simple as just running a cable. Okay, maybe it is, but you need to know why you're doing it. Who do you want to connect to? And what is this connection going to bring to your company? Is it beneficial for you to be at this specific IXP? Does it make sense to be there? Do you have access to all the networks you want to get to? And understanding the peering community. Well, good luck with that. They are a weird bunch, I can tell you that. But it is important to understand how the peering community works, who to reach out to when you get stuck, where to go when you don't know what to do. And what is the solution? I mean, there's so much information, there's so many people you can reach out to. Where do you start? Who do you go to? And this is kind of where Peering Toolbox has come about. We realized that there are a lot of networks wanting to know, where do I start? What do I do? Who do I speak to? So we have put together this peering toolbox, and it's exactly that. It's a toolbox giving you the tools to initiate your peering adventure, if I can, or your journey, if you'd like. So the peering toolbox is a community-focused learning tool. So it's giving you all the essential things you need to know, all the basics you need to know about peering to get started. But not only to get started, I mean, we have some companies that have been peering or connected for a while, not knowing that there's more than just to connect. You know, you can do more by spinning up bilateral sessions. There's more by, reviewing the peering policy or engaging with the network to utilize more of their traffic over an IXP. Then we have the advanced. Now, personally, I'm not there. I need to go read up on this section on the peering toolbox, but we do have an advanced level to take your network just one step up, to do the best that you can, to do the utmost that you can at an IXP. Now, this is a community-focused project by EuroIX. So we have reached out to a whole bunch of people in the community, in the peering community, sharing their experiences, sharing some insights, sharing the information. And as I mentioned, information is readily available, but to get to it is the problem. Now, what we've done is we condensed it into the Peering Toolbox, which is a website where you can go to access the information at a single point, not having to Google everything and wondering, is this the right stuff? So organizations involved include links, ourselves as NAPAfrica, Microsoft, Amazon, and INEX. Now, what is our aim with this? To provide a learning structure and best practice information for new entrants into the interconnection community. Now, as I said, this is not, well, please be aware that this is not the Peering Bible. We are not saying that this is the way and that's it. This is just a reference point to get to the information that you require, depending on where you are in your peering journey. Now, this is not only for beginner networks. This is for networks that has been peering for a while, or networks, again, that want to take that next step in their peering journey. The toolbox will act as a reference guide, as mentioned, that IXPs and networks can point others to for best practices. Now, this is something I can share with you as an internet exchange provider, is that we have a lot of networks that we talk to, and these vary from carrier, ISPs, enterprises, financials, you name it, we have them. The conversations usually are, where do I start, right? And again, having so much information available, having so many places you can go to get information, it's quite a lot. And I mean, if I send you an email with 10 or 20 references, you're not going to read all of them, right? And that is where the peering toolbox is quite helpful, where I can simply say to the networks, let's have a discussion. Let me understand your plan. What do you want to do? What is your strategy? And then point them to the peering toolbox to say, if you get stuck on anything, please refer to the peering toolbox. We have the terms, we have the explanations, we have some examples that you can look through. And if you still get stuck, let's talk about it. Let's work on this. Let's work on this together. So there's already a lot of work that's gone into the peering toolbox. As mentioned, this comes way back. I think it was in 2018 that it started about. So this has been in discussion for a long time. And it's still an ongoing process because, as we know, technology changes, the industry changes. So we are working to pull together to make it available in one place. Again, not having to have 10 or 20 links to click on to go through information to find that one thing that you needed to know. The toolbox is intended to be a reference point, and the target audience is everyone that wants to connect, everybody that wants to peer, everybody that wants to know about peering. That is our target audience, which means this is for service providers, your enterprises, content providers, you name it. Everybody can go to this website and understand what peering is about. So again, it's a website-focused platform. So you can simply go onto the website. We have a few sections that you can go to depending on where you are in your peering journey. You can decide, are you a beginner, intermediate, or advanced? And depending on the category that you select, the relevant information will be displayed. You can also search for certain keywords if you are looking for something specific. It's easy for organizations already peering to learn about current best practices, so RPKI, manners, all of that, and keep up to date with technology. Again, coming back to technology keeps changing, and we need to keep updated with what's happening in technology as well as in the industry. Advice from experienced peer sharing tips and tricks. Again, this is very helpful, and this is where getting to know your community is key. Talk to them, tell them about your challenges, tell them about your successes, and learn from them. There's always something you can learn from somebody else. Even if it's a mistake or accomplishment, there's always something you can pick up from somebody else. And make use of the IXPDB and PeeringDB. Again, we're coming back to these two platforms. These two platforms are the way to go. You should actually save them into your bookmarks. You need to be on this every day and watch what's happening on the networks as well as at the IXPs to understand the growth and the changes happening in the community. So this is just a quick snap of what the website looks like, the Peering Toolbox website looks like. We are trying to keep it very simple, very clean, and easy to navigate. As you can see, we have our different categories, your beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And depending on where you are, you would click on the relevant category and the information will be displayed. Otherwise, if you are looking for a specific term to understand, you can simply search for it. Now, we are looking for community members to help with contributions to improve the toolbox. So, as we mentioned, this is a community-led project. We want to hear from you guys. What do you struggle with? What do you want to see on the website? What are the terms you've heard being used? What questions do you get in the community? Or what tips and tricks can you share with us that we can share with the community? So if you guys have anything you would like to contribute to us, any information that you've read on, a blog post you've seen, or a personal experience that you've had in your network, please feel free to reach out to the Peering Toolbox mailing list that we have listed there. We would really like to get to hear from you. Again, this is a community project. And it's not the Peering Bible. So this is recommendations and based on experience. Then lastly, my last thing I'd like to say is, again, we need to get to know our community. So as you can see on the screen, tonight we have our social event, which is BS for Peers. And we'd like to invite all of you to come through, get to know your community, chat to each other, and share your experiences with us. And that is me. Are there any questions?
Also, if you're online, this is the time to post your questions. Please use your Q&A tab and ask your question for Yolandi.
Hi, Yolandi. Mine is more of a compliment. I think...
Who are you?
Once again, I'm Isabel from GCOR. And I think the tool is going to answer a problem that most people do experience, which is some of the providers or the engineers that work at the IXPs or data centers, not knowing how to advertise their prefixes or simply understanding what peering is and its importance. So thank you for answering a very huge problem that we've had. Now, this question I should have, since it's all peering, the question I should have asked to Ben, and I hope he's willing to answer it now. Maybe I'll just ask him while I sit next to him. But you want me to ask you while I sit next to you, or should I ask? Okay. So Ben, what's your plan to keep PeeringDB as updated as possible? Because like Nurani had mentioned, most of the information there is usually old. Some people have left. What's your plan?
That's actually a good question. I want to give my input from an IXP operator's point of view. So we obviously are aware that changes are being made within companies, and they don't always log into the profiles. They are not as active as we would be as IXP operators. So I mean, from a NAPAfrica point of view, what we do is we annually or biannually actually reach out to our members and ask them, please log into your profile, please ensure that your details are corrected. Or sometimes we also have networks that reach out to us to say, I've tried to contact network B, but it's not going through. Please, can you get me in touch with them? And we will then send that request like that to network B and say, please note that there are networks wanting to reach out to you. Please ensure that your details are updated. But I'm keen to hear what Ben's plan is. Hopefully it's automated.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a fair question. So Ben Ryle back from PeeringDB. It's kind of called out earlier. It's relying on the community and the people who operate their records to keep the information up to date. So outreach is one way we're engaging the community to reinforce the value and why people should use PeeringDB and coming to events like this and talking to operators. We also go to events across all regions. And have those same conversations. Similarly, bring in more use to PeeringDB past just the source of information that it shares. So, for example, companies who choose to use it as OAuth means people are going to be keeping their logins up to date. So it's engagement and extending the use past, the information source. But it relies on humans at the end of the day. Until we can get past that piece, it's always going to be a real challenge. Hopefully that answers it for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel. Do you have any other questions from the floor?
I just want to make another comment before listening to your question. I think for networks to know what is important about PeeringDB, if you are wanting to connect to the bigger peers at an internet exchange point, for instance, a Facebook, a Microsoft, a Google. So the bigger networks actually go and look at your PeeringDB profile and your contacts. So in order to qualify to peer with them, it's essential that you keep your profile updated on PeeringDB because that is one of the requirements if you'd like to peer with them. Okay, go ahead.
Thanks. Bijal, Nigerian Network Operators Group. Mine is a suggestion, not a question. I think that what could solve that problem for all of the DBs is a monthly status saying your organization has this person, that person, that person, that person as contacts listed. I think you'd see action very quickly if somebody has left already.
That's a good suggestion. Thanks. Ben, did you take notes?
All right, great. Do you have any questions from online? Okay. Any final questions from the floor? All right, cool. Thank you. So with that, Yolandi, thank you so much, but I'd like you to stay on stage and as well as invite Ben, Nurani, and Mark. I think he left. Okay, no worries. You just had a small token of appreciation for our speakers so far. And we just wanted to share that with you for sharing your knowledge, sharing your information here with everyone. All right.
One by one.
We still have a little bit more on our agenda just before lunch. I'd like to invite Frank, who's going to be taking us through the peering personals. If you haven't sent through your peering personals, go ahead and send that through. We still have other sessions throughout the conference where we can share your personals with everyone. So thank you.
And please don't leave because there's the lunch notes that you will need before you can have lunch.
Okay, thanks a lot. Please put up the slides and Yolandi, don't leave the room, and Ben, start submitting your peering slides. Okay. So my name is Frank, and where I work comes in those peering introductions. And we need to get the slides up. And yeah, I'm requesting basically everybody who has submitted those things before 11:30, they will be in the first session and should be preparing to come up. So from links from UXP, Kyle, PCH, Sarah, GVA, Mathieu, myself, Niger Telecom, and 328840, Jean-Francis, and Isabel, and NAPAfrica, and maybe Axio as well. Please prepare to come close here. And while we wait for the slides, we'll do it quick. Just say who you are so that people see you and can contact you later. And in the meantime, all the others who haven't submitted yet, please send us something to peer@afpif.org. Not, if possible in your program, not to pc@afpif.org, but to peer@afpif. And there will be another session like this at the end of today's program, after the fourth session in the afternoon, evening. And then tomorrow afternoon, after the two sessions, there will again be these introductions. So send those things, send them by today so that you can be on stage this evening. Otherwise, people won't be able to meet you tomorrow. No slides still? Not? On the move, good.
A bit difficult without slides. I can explain away. There we go. If we go to the next one. Yes.
Full screen, please. Okay. Can we have full screen? Presentation mode.
Yeah, we'll get rolling. So hi everyone, I'm Halil from Links, the London Internet Exchange. We're obviously based in London and multiple areas around the world, but yeah, so we're at Internet Exchange Point, multiple sites for dual land topology, London, Manchester, Scotland, Wales. We also have a site in the US, one in Saudi Arabia, and obviously our newest site, Links Nairobi. We don't have a peering policy because we're an Internet Exchange Point, but feel free to obviously peer at our exchange, or if you are interested, please feel free to speak to myself or any of my colleagues at the stand that we have in the foyer. And we've got our email there that you can reach us from, sales@links.net. So any questions are welcome. Thank you.
Okay, contact him for any questions to Links.
Yeah, that's it. Right. My name is Kyle Spencer. We're from the Uganda Internet Exchange Points. We have 31 connected networks in Kampala. We have access, carrier, CDN, research and education network, government, enterprise, DNS, etc. We allow multilateral, bilateral peering, do whatever you like over the fabric. We are now also in Uganda's first carrier-neutral data center called Raxio. And we have discounts at that new facility. So if you come to Raxio, you get a free cross-connect, 25% off for the first 6 months. If you want to get in touch, find me, find Mike. Mike, hand up. Hi, Mike. And then you can also get us on our website.
Somebody from Niger Telecom, please come in front. And Jean-Francis Ahanda, please come.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sarah Lamin. I work at the Packet Clearing House. We are AS42 and 3856. We are in a different location. We run a global DNS infrastructure that's used by DNS root operators and Quad9 and different TTLDs. So peer with us will help your DNS infrastructure faster, safe, and secure. We happy to be with everyone. Our peer policy is open. You can always contact me, Charles, or peering at pch.net. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mathieu from GVA, also known as Canalbox. We're an FTTH ISP in Rwanda, but also available in DRC, Congo-B, Gabon, Togo, Côte d'Ivoire, Burkina, and soon to many other countries. You can find us at the following ISPs in Africa, but also connecting to new IXPs every month. Celestin is here from Rwanda. So if you are in Rwanda, come and speak to Celestin, speak to me for other peering. We have a selective peering policy. However, we peer with everybody where it makes sense. And don't forget, as we say in French, peer comme jamais, peer as always.
Hello, everyone. Next slide. My name is Frank, running the Tanzania Internet Exchange in Dar es Salaam and a few others around the country. We have 38 peers. Everybody who has an ASN can peer. There are many ASNs because one for each. You can connect with copper or fiber. Contact us at info@tix.or.tz. Thank you. Next slide, please. Hello, my name is Frank from Simbanet. We peer at 6 internet exchanges in Tanzania. Open peering policy. You can contact us at peering@simbanet.co.tz. Thanks. Next slide.
Hello, I'm Boubacar Labou from Niger Telecom. So we have an IXP with 3 operators, the local operators only. So everyone that need to connect to us in Niger, so they can contact us. Thank you.
The next
slide because we don't have the person for the next slide is not here. So Isabel, please. GCO, can you go to the slide for GCO?
Hi, my name is Isabel and I'm from GCO. Our SN.
Slide number 10. Yes, yes.
Hi, my name is Isabel and I'm from GCO. ASN is 199524. We have over 150 points of presence globally. So if you want to contact us, email address is over there, nok@gco.lu, or while you're here, meet with me, let's peer. Our policy is open.
If somebody from Raxio is in the room right now, please come in front. Otherwise, after Yolandi, we'll have we have housekeeping and then lunch. Yolandi.
I'm back. Hi. Hi, everyone. My name is Yolandi Cloete, and I am from NAPAfrica, AS 37195. We are based in South Africa. We are in the Terraco data center facilities, which is in Johannesburg, Cape Town, Durban. Currently, we have 561 ASNs connected from 26 different African countries. We support various port sizes, 1 gig, 10 gig, 100 gig. Important to note, we do not charge for any connections to NAPAfrica, so you're more than welcome to connect to us. And if you have any questions, you can find me around the event, or you can contact us at nap@terraco.co.za. Thank you.
Thanks, Yolandi. Do we have? That's not really completed yet. Come, James. That's Raxio.
Hi, my name is James Biarhanga. I'm the general manager for Raxio Data Center in Uganda. You'll see all the familiar faces after so long. I came with a team of several other of my colleagues, and we have somewhere in the corner. So if you get a chance, you should pass by. So we're new. Uganda is the first live entity that we have, and we're building several other data centers in the Pan-African region. Currently under construction, we've got DRC, Ethiopia. We also have several other announced DCs that we're going to build, Maputo, Dar es Salaam. We're also looking at new locations in Angola, Togo, several other countries. We're excited, obviously, to be in this space. We're building current new data centers and tier 3 at the minimum. We are also now officially peering everywhere. Our AS is 328821. So we're online and ready to connect to each and every one of you guys. We're psyched to be here. We're going to be here for a long time. Thank you.
Thanks, James. Can you go to the first slide, please, if it's possible? So I just want to remind everybody, please send us the details so that we can include you in the next session, which is in the after the last presentation today, in the last session, yes. And then there will be other introductions again tomorrow in the afternoon only. So please send us the details. And now Fergus with some housekeeping.
Thank you very much, Frank. You know, he's our biggest starter, and every year he comes along, he does 5 talk sessions for us. People seem to love him. I don't understand why, but thank you again. Anyway, housekeeping, lunch is ready. That's the good news. So, it's a served buffet at the Soko restaurant 1 level down, so that's on B1. There will be vouchers handed out at the stairs in front of the registration table. You need a voucher. If you don't have a voucher, they won't serve you. They'll send you upstairs, and hopefully there'll still be vouchers left. There'll be ushers to guide you downstairs. Lunch is till 2. Please be back so we can start promptly at 2. You must have a voucher, don't forget that bit. And if you're online, you can always go and visit the virtual booths if you want more AfPIF goodness. Do we have any quick questions about anything? How secure is the room? Do we have an answer to that? I'm getting thumbs up from the back. So any, oh, yes. Sorry. We have been working with both of the two providers for most of the morning for some reason. We think there's an internal DHCP base station issue, but we're also trying to crank up the external bandwidth. Any other questions? Great. Thank you for coming this morning, and see you all at 2 o'clock. Thanks again. I'm sorry, I forgot to say thank you again to all of our wonderful sponsors. We love you all. Please visit the stands.
That's